The world praised Michael Jackson like a god, then judged him like a headline. But somewhere between the records, the accusations, the screaming crowds, and the silence that followed, the real person disappeared. Because the truth about Michael Jackson was never simple. Not the child, not the superstar, not the man hiding behind the glove. Tonight on Retro Vinyl, we are not revisiting the legend. We're revisiting the human being the world thought it already understood. From the song written while his car burned on the highway, to the patent he filed to defy gravity, to the medical truth hidden behind decades of ridicule, these are the stories that change the way you hear the music forever. This is Michael Jackson, Beyond the Mythology. 12. The songs that refuse to die. The engineer mixed this song 91 times. Quincy Jones hated the intro, and Michael Jackson's car was literally on fire when the idea came to him. Somehow that chaos became Billie Jean. Michael Jackson was driving down Ventura Boulevard in Los Angeles when the bass line for Billie Jean arrived in his head. He was so locked into composing, so completely absorbed, that he didn't notice his car had caught fire. A passing motorcyclist pulled alongside him and pointed at the smoke. He pulled over and kept humming the melody. In the studio, the fight over the song nearly killed it before it lived. Quincy Jones despised the 29-second instrumental intro, said it was too long for radio. He also wanted the title changed to Not My Lover, afraid listeners would confuse it with tennis star Billie Jean King. Jackson refused both. He said the intro was the jelly. He said it was what made him want dance. Engineer Bruce Sweetin mixed Billie Jean 91 times. Jones listened to every version and sent Sweetin back to mix number 2. After months of obsessive refinement, that second attempt turned out to be the one. The song was born from real fear. Not one woman, but a pattern Jackson had watched haunt his brothers on the road. Groupies filing false paternity claims. Women arriving at hotel rooms with babies. A real woman named Billie Jean Jackson later spent years harassing him, filed a $150 million lawsuit that was dismissed for lack of evidence, and was still seeking custody of his youngest child 5 months after his death. He wrote the song. He just didn't know how true it would stay. Billie Jean hit number 1 in 7 countries. It won 2 Grammy Awards. It broke racial barriers at MTV. Pharrell Williams once said, "I think there will never be a song like this one again. This perfection, it is eternal." 11. The riot in the control room. He hung up the phone 4 times because he thought it was a prank. Then he walked into the studio and rearranged Michael Jackson's song without permission. Somehow, Michael thanked him for it. Quincy Jones wanted a rock song, something that would make the world stop arguing about whether Michael Jackson only belonged to black radio. He called Eddie Van Halen. Van Halen hung up 4 times, convinced it was a prank. "I went off on him," Van Halen later told CNN. "What do you want?" He finally believed it on the 5th call, only because the timbre of Jones's voice began to sound like something real. When Van Halen arrived at Westlake Studios, Michael was across the hall, in tears. He had been recording voice-over work for the E.T. audiobook and was devastated by the emotional session. Jones handed Van Halen the track and said 3 words, "Do anything you want." Van Halen listened to the song twice, didn't like the section marked for his solo. So he grabbed the engineer, restructured the entire middle of the track, added chord changes, reshaped the breakdown, completely rewrote the architecture of the song without asking. When Michael came back, Halen braced for impact. Instead, wow! Thank you for having the passion to not just blaze a solo, but to actually care about the song and make it better. Van Halen recorded 2 takes. He charged nothing. His payment was 2 six-packs of beer and an ashtray. He wasn't even properly credited on the sleeve. His own band was furious. Van Halen had a strict no-session rule. No member could record with other artists without group consent. Lead singer David Lee Roth found out standing in a 7-Eleven parking lot on Santa Monica when Beat It came on the store radio. He heard the solo and thought someone was ripping Eddie off. It was Eddie. Beat It hit #1 for 3 weeks. Van Halen's amp was so loud during the session that the monitor speaker in the control room caught fire. That was not an urban legend. That was just Eddie Van Halen being exactly who he was. 10. The word that arrived at dawn. The man who wrote the title track for the best-selling album in history almost never wrote it at all. In fact, Thriller wasn't even called Thriller yet. Michael Jackson did not write Thriller. The title track of the best-selling album in history was written by a British songwriter named Rod Temperton, the same man who had written Boogie Nights and Always and Forever for Heatwave. No one's gonna save you from the beast about to strike, you know it's there. Temperton's working title was Starlight, then Starlight Love, then Midnight Man. Quincy Jones wasn't satisfied with any of them. He sent Temperton back. Temperton returned to his hotel room and spent the night writing over 200 possible titles. He went to bed, and in the morning, a single word arrived, as he later described it, like something placed into his mind from the outside. Let me hold you tight and share up together. He called Quincy Jones at 7 in the morning. Jones said, "That's it," but then Michael almost blocked its release entirely. Jackson was a practicing Jehovah's Witness. The Thriller video, with its zombies, horror imagery, and Vincent Price voiceover, violated everything his faith taught about the occult. He broke down crying. He told his team, "No one must ever see this." You're fighting for your life inside of Thriller. His manager John Branca talked him through it. Jackson agreed to release it, but only with a personal disclaimer at the front of the video, stating that the content did not reflect his personal beliefs. The video cost $1 million, unprecedented at the time. It aired on MTV on December 2nd, 1983, to an audience of 46 million viewers. It was the first music video ever inducted into the National Film Registry by the Library of Congress. Girl, I can feel you more than any gold would have dared try. Vincent Price recorded his entire spoken word section in one take. He was paid Screen Actors Guild scale, less than $1,000. He called it one of the highlights of his career. And Rod Temperton, who wrote the title track of the best-selling album in history, received no royalties. He was a staff songwriter. He was paid a flat fee. 200 titles in a hotel room. The right word arrived at 7 in the morning. That is how Thriller got its name.
I wasn't that scared. You were scared.
9. The night the moonwalk was born. 34 million people watched it happen live. But before that night, the move didn't even have a name. By the next morning, the world called it the moonwalk. Michael Jackson had initially refused to perform at the Motown 25 television special. He had spent years distancing himself from the Motown era, from the group dynamic, from the perception that he was still the kid from the Jackson 5. He wanted the world to see him as a solo artist who had just put out Thriller. Berry Gordy called him personally. He asked him to come. Jackson agreed, on one condition. He would perform one solo song. They agreed. He chose Billie Jean. He wore a black fedora, a sequin jacket, a single white glove, and white socks chosen specifically so the audience could track his feet under the stage lights. At 3 minutes and 37 seconds, he slid backward. The audience erupted. People screamed. A woman in the front row reportedly fainted. Fred Astaire called him the next morning. "You are a hell of a mover." Mikhail Baryshnikov, one of the greatest ballet dancers alive, said he watched the performance and felt genuinely inadequate. Jackson had been working on what he privately called the backslide for years, absorbing mechanics from street dancers in Los Angeles. He eventually learned the core technique from street and pop dancers, most notably from Jeffrey Daniel of the R&B group Shalamar, who had already been performing the move on television. Michael didn't just copy it, he dissected it. He slowed it down. He rebuilt it into something cleaner, more controlled, more illusion-like, refining it quietly in rehearsal rooms, keeping it hidden from the public until that night. The next morning, every newspaper in America called it the moonwalk. Jackson never used it casually again. He treated it like a weapon. He knew exactly what it could do. 8. The most famous stranger in America. Imagine opening your front door to a stranger, talking about scripture, completely unaware you're standing face to face with the most famous entertainer on earth. Because at the height of his fame, Michael Jackson was secretly going door to door in disguise. Even at the absolute peak of his global fame, Michael Jackson was a baptized devout Jehovah's Witness, and he took his religious duties as seriously as he took his choreography. His sister LaToya confirmed it in her own memoir. 5 days a week, the two of us, and Mother studied the Bible at home and attended the Kingdom Hall. Every morning, Michael and I witnessed, knocking on doors around Los Angeles, spreading the word of Jehovah. As his fame made public appearances impossible, Jackson enlisted Hollywood makeup artists to help him disappear, wearing elaborate disguises, fake mustaches, wide-brimmed hats, heavy coats, and at one point a full rubber fat suit. He successfully went door to door in California neighborhoods, distributing Watchtower magazines, talking to strangers about scripture. Adults were consistently fooled, children almost never. LaToya recalled one morning, a child at the door pointed and said, "That's Michael Jackson!" The parent looked at the strange man in the heavy coat and replied, "Honey, don't be silly!" Jackson kept going. Next door, next door, next door. He later said that having doors slammed in his face, being invisible, being ordinary, being rejected like anyone else, was one of the most important things in his life for keeping him grounded. By 1987, the church elders delivered an ultimatum over the Thriller video. Jackson formally disassociated himself from the Jehovah's Witnesses. Under church doctrine, disassociation is treated as more severe than being removed by the church itself. His own mother, still a devoted member, was technically required to shun him. Katherine Jackson never did. The faith shaped him. The industry broke it. And Michael Jackson spent the rest of his life singing about what he still believed. Oh, by the way, we are halfway through this story, and maybe one thing is becoming clear. The world spent decades trying to explain Michael Jackson without ever fully understanding him. The tabloids saw spectacle. The media saw controversy. But underneath all of it was a human being carrying pressure almost nobody could survive. And somehow, he kept turning that pressure into music the entire world could feel. No one's gonna save you from the beast about to strike, you know it's there. If Retro Vinyl is giving you something real tonight, hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell. Because the second half of this countdown goes even deeper into the moments, decisions, and truths that completely changed the legacy of the King of Pop. Let's keep going. For decades, gamers believed Michael Jackson secretly helped create music for Sonic the Hedgehog 3. But the real story turned out to be even stranger than the rumor. In 1993, Sega invited Michael Jackson to compose the soundtrack for Sonic the Hedgehog 3. a collaboration that would quietly become one of the most fascinating mysteries in gaming history. Jackson began working on the project alongside his musical director and keyboardist Brad Buxer. He had already built a relationship with Sega through his own game, Michael Jackson's Moonwalker, released in 1989. But once Jackson heard how his intricate, layered compositions sounded through the Sega Genesis's compressed and limited sound chip, he was deeply unhappy. He could not reconcile his musical standards with what the hardware produced. According to Buxer, Jackson decided to walk away and have his name removed from the credits entirely. He refused to be associated with a product he felt devalued his music. The game shipped with the music, still in place. His name was nowhere on it. For 15 years, it remained an industry rumor. Then in 2009, Brad Buxer confirmed it in an interview with a French magazine. In 2022, Sonic co-creator Yuji Naka publicly confirmed Jackson's involvement on Twitter, posting an aerial photograph of Neverland Ranch and writing, "This is a picture taken by me with my camera when we went to his house in his helicopter. I miss it." When Sega released the remastered Sonic Origins compilation, the tracks tied to Jackson's work were quietly replaced with new compositions. That replacement was the final confirmation. If you listen to the Stranger in Moscow chord progression, and then listen to the Sonic 3 ending credits, you will hear the same melodic DNA. The most famous musician in the world spent part of 1993 scoring a Sega game. Nobody knew until 15 years after he did it. 6. The advice Paul McCartney regretted. All alone, I sit home by the phone, waiting for you. Paul McCartney gave Michael Jackson one piece of business advice during a recording session. A year later, Michael used it to buy the Beatles' catalog out from under him. In 1984, during a break from recording their duet Say Say Say, Paul McCartney gave Michael Jackson a piece of advice. "You should invest in music publishing," McCartney told him. "That's where the real money is." He was talking generally. He was not talking about his own music. Say, say, say what you want. Michael Jackson took the advice literally. In August 1985, Jackson paid $47.5 million for the ATV Music Publishing catalog, which included the rights to over 250 Beatles songs. Songs written by John Lennon and Paul McCartney. Let It Be, Hey Jude, Yesterday, Come Together. McCartney had also placed a bid. Jackson outbid him. McCartney found out through the media. He was deeply unhappy. The friendship that had produced one of the most cheerful pop duets of the decade was effectively over. Jackson held those rights until his death, later merging the ATV catalog with Sony's music publishing arm to form Sony ATV, a publishing empire worth billions of dollars. McCartney spent over 30 years in legal negotiations trying to reclaim the rights to songs he had co-written. A 2018 U.S. law change finally allowed that process to begin in earnest. The advice McCartney gave in a recording studio in 1984 cost him control of his own music for more than 3 decades. Jackson never apologized. He told an interviewer simply, "I just thought it was a good investment." He was right. 5. The morning Michael Jackson survived history. I knew that love would bring this happiness. Michael Jackson was supposed to be inside the World Trade Center on September 11, 2001. The reason he missed the meeting changed him forever. On the morning of September 11, 2001, Michael Jackson had a scheduled business meeting at the top of one of the Twin Towers in New York City. He never made it. The night before, Jackson had just completed his grueling 30th anniversary solo concerts at Madison Square Garden. After the show, he stayed up until the early hours of the morning talking with his mother Catherine and his sister Rebby. He completely overslept. By the time he woke, the attacks had already begun. The realization that a conversation with his mother and sister had kept him alive shook Jackson in a way he never fully resolved in public. He spoke about it in interviews with a quietness that didn't match his public persona. Not like a celebrity recounting a close call, like a man reckoning with something beyond his ability to explain. In the weeks that followed, he immediately turned toward action. He organized the United We Stand, What More Can I Give benefit concert in Washington, D.C., personally funded portions of the event, donated his services entirely, and recorded the charity single What More Can I Give, featuring an all-star chorus including Celine Dion, Usher, Ricky Martin, and Luther Vandross, for the families of the victims.
I cannot explain the things I feel for you.
Michael Jackson was alive because he stayed up talking to his mother. He spent the rest of his life giving back, at least in part, as an answer to that mourning. 4. The man Guinness couldn't ignore.
There comes a time when we heed a certain.
At one point, Michael Jackson held 17 Guinness World Records at the same time. But the one that mattered most had nothing to do with music.
When the world must come together as one.
Michael Jackson co-wrote We Are the World with Lionel Richie in under 2 hours, in Jackson's own home studio late at night following the American Music Awards in January 1985. Harry Belafonte had approached Jackson about organizing a response to the Ethiopian famine crisis. Jackson called Richie. They sat down. 2 hours later, the song existed.
All a part of God's great big family.
The recording session on January 28, 1985, assembled 45 of the biggest names in American music in a single room at A&M Studios in Los Angeles. Quincy Jones hung a sign on the studio door that read simply, "Check your egos at the door." The session ran from 10 in the evening until 8 in the morning.
There are people dying. Oh, when it's time.
Stevie Wonder reportedly joked that if anyone got in a car accident on the way home, it would set American music back 50 years. The single sold over 20 million copies. It raised $63 million for African famine relief. At that moment in his career, Michael Jackson held 17 Guinness World Records simultaneously. One remains certified in the Guinness Book to this day, the entertainer who has raised the most money for charity of any artist in history. Over $500 million in documented lifetime charitable donations. 39 different organizations supported.
But if you just believe, there's nowhere we can fall.
The tabloids spent decades constructing a villain. The Guinness Book recorded the most philanthropic entertainer who ever lived. Both were describing the same man.
It's true, we make a better day, just you and me.
3. The patent that defied gravity. Michael Jackson patented a way to lean past the limits of the human body, not movie magic, not camera tricks. An actual invention filed with the United States Patent Office. In the Smooth Criminal short film, Michael Jackson and his dancers lean forward at a 45-degree angle, past the physical limit of what any human body can sustain using muscle strength alone. No wire work, no digital effects, no camera tricks. It is physically impossible. And yet there it is. Here's how he did it. Jackson and his wardrobe engineers designed a special shoe. The heel contained a precision-cut slot. Beneath the stage, metal pegs were mechanically embedded into the floor at exact positions, calibrated to emerge at specific moments during the choreography. The slot in the heel locked onto the peg. The peg held the body. The body went beyond the laws of physics. United States Patent 5255452 was granted on October 26, 1993. The official title, Method and Means for Creating Anti-Gravity Illusion. Michael Jackson's name is on the patent.
You've been hit by a smooth.
The lean was first performed live during the 1988 Bad World Tour. The crew spent weeks designing and calibrating the stage mechanism to ensure the pegs emerged and retracted invisibly. Every major artist who has attempted the lean in a live performance since, including Beyoncé, Justin Timberlake, and multiple K-pop acts, has used a variation of the mechanism Jackson invented, engineered, and patented himself. He was not just a performer, he was a patented inventor. And somewhere in a U.S. government archive, that document still sits with his name on it, proving it. 2. The lie the autopsy destroyed.
It's a turf war on a global scale. I'd rather hear both sides of the tale.
For years, the world mocked Michael Jackson's changing appearance without knowing the truth. But after his death, the medical records finally confirmed what he had been saying all along. From the mid-1980s onward, as Michael Jackson's skin visibly changed, the tabloids constructed a narrative. That he was self-hating, that he was erasing his identity, that he wanted to be white. He denied it repeatedly, directly. For years, the world didn't listen. And it's you either you're wrong or you're right. After his death on June 25, 2009, the Los Angeles County coroner conducted a full autopsy. The finding was definitive. Michael Jackson had vitiligo, an autoimmune condition that progressively destroys the melanin-producing cells in the skin, causing irregular white patches that expand unpredictably across the body.
Protection for gangs, clubs, and nations, causing grief in human relations.
His dermatologist, Arnold Klein, had first identified signs of the condition in 1983 and officially diagnosed it in 1986. Jackson was prescribed a depigmentation cream called monobenzyl ether of hydroquinone, applied specifically to even out the advancing white patches so that his skin could appear uniform in color. You agree with me when I saw you kicking dirt in my eye. He was managing a medical condition. The alternative was to live with expanding irregular patches of pink and brown across his entire face and body, photographed by a press that had already proven it would use any image against him. Black or White premiered on November 14, 1991, to an estimated audience of 500 million people across 27 countries, the largest television audience ever recorded for a music video premiere. The morphing sequence at the end, where human faces dissolve across race, gender, and age, was his answer, made in music, to a narrative the media refused to let go of. The song hit #1 in 15 countries. He wrote it while the world was debating whether he wanted to be white. He answered with a song. The autopsy answered the rest. 1. The Child Who Never Came Back. He was 11 years and 5 months old when it happened. He sang one line, and the world never let him grow up again. And even at #1, he was still trying to find his way back to the child he lost. On January 31, 1970, I Want You Back reached #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. The lead vocalist was 11 years and 5 months old. No one has broken that record in 55 years. Michael Jackson remains the youngest solo lead vocalist ever to top the Billboard Hot 100, a record that stands today unchallenged and likely permanent. The song was recorded in August 1969 at Motown's Los Angeles studio. Michael had been performing professionally since age 5. By the time he was 8, his father Joseph had him rehearsing and performing in working men's clubs across Indiana and beat him for wrong steps during rehearsal. When I Want You Back was recorded, producers Freddie Perrin and Phonce Mizell hadn't fully prepared for what they were about to capture. Berry Gordy listened to the playback and walked out of the room without speaking. He came back 2 minutes later. That's the record. 11 years old. First week on the chart. #1. Let me show you, girl, I don't go for rock. Michael Jackson spent the next 40 years trying to protect the part of himself that had never left that childhood. The part that had been performing since age 5, beaten for wrong steps at 8, and placed under a career's weight before he had ever lived one free year of his own life. That grief, that unreachable childhood is the current running beneath every great song he ever made. I Want You Back is still one of the greatest opening bars in pop history. A staccato piano, a bass drop, and an 11-year-old telling you he made a mistake with everything he had.
Baby, I want you back.
12 stories, 12 songs, and one man the world may have never fully understood. For decades, Michael Jackson lived as both the most celebrated entertainer on earth and one of the most criticized human beings alive.
Just remember to always tonight.
The world called him strange, complicated, broken. But behind the headlines was also a man who gave away hundreds of millions to charity, a perfectionist who rehearsed until collapse, a child star who never truly got to be a child, and an artist who kept turning pain into music that connected generations. Maybe that is why these stories still matter. Because the deeper you look at Michael Jackson, the harder it becomes to reduce him to a rumor, a tabloid, or a punchline. And maybe history owes him more honesty than he received while he was alive. You knew the records, you knew the performances, but now maybe you know the person behind them a little better. Drop the fact that stayed with you the most in the comments below. And if Retro Vinyl gave you something real today, hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell. Because legends don't disappear, they echo. And Michael Jackson is still echoing through music, culture, memory, and the stories the world is still trying to understand. Until next time, keep the needle on the record and the volume where it belongs.
Girl, I can feel you more than any gold could have dared try.